you need to have these 4 key elements in your training in order to progress as quickly and efficiently as possible. Before I get into it, my name is Andrew. I am a professional goalkeeper for Carolina Core FC in MLS Next Pro. It's my mission to help young goalkeepers like you develop the mindset, skill set, and habits to help you reach your next level and achieve your goals. If you get any value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Share this to a goalkeeper friend of yours that you might think will find value out of it. The more goalkeepers that are a part of this community, the better it's going to be, and it's a win-win for both of us. At the end of the 2023 season, so last season, I was looking for a way that I could get into the gym and progress as quickly as possible in that area. The off season is a really good time to work on things that you can't do as much in the season, where in the season we're so focused on games and training that it's hard to really focus on athleticism and making some real improvements in the gym physically. So I knew that this off season was going to be a good time for me to do that. I knew that the best way to do it would be to get connected with someone who really knew what they were talking about and could help me progress, because I'm not a strength and conditioning expert. So I ended up getting connected with a guy. His name's Chris Slocum. He is a strength and conditioning coach in Houston, Texas, and Katy, Texas, and huge shout out to him. We worked together for about 2 months, and it was a really good time for me. I feel like I made a lot of progress. We did testing at the beginning and at the end, and all my numbers went up in all the different areas of strength, vertical jump, broad jump, all those things. And so it put me into a pretty good position going into this season, just feeling confident and strong and powerful. But I took a little bit of time to reflect on why did I make so much progress and what elements were there in the training that helped me to progress as quickly as I did. So these 4 things are going to be things you can add to both your on the field training and to any kind of off the field training work you do, gym work, conditioning, all that kinds of stuff. The first thing that we had in place was a plan. So anytime you want to progress in an area, you want to have a plan of how to get there. And I know that sounds pretty obvious, but too many times I think we go out on a day to go train or go to the gym and we're trying to make it up on the spot. If you want to make as much progress as possible, you need to be able to see the bigger picture. So when I started working with Chris, he had a plan in place of what those 2 months were going to look like right from the beginning. So it wasn't like we were coming into the gym every day and asking, oh, what should we do today? It was no, there was already a plan in place. And going deeper into the idea of having a plan, it should be crafted by someone who knows what they're talking about and is an expert in that field. So for me, I probably could have came up with a strength and conditioning plan for myself using the internet, and I've been working out for a long time now, college and high school. But I think to go to someone who is an expert in their field is going to give you the best results long term. So having a plan where when you show up in the gym that day or that week, you already have your training laid out. So when I showed up to the gym, all it was time to do was work. There was no thought of what we were going to do that day. So very crucial to have a plan in place, knowing exactly what you're going to do before you even do it. The second piece that we had in place was accountability. So what is accountability? Accountability is pretty much a sense of pressure in order to do what is on your plan. So in my case, there were 2 forms of accountability in place. First was I was accountable to Chris. I had set up times every single day that I was going to show up and train with him, and it was on his calendar, and he's a busy, important guy, and I knew that there was no way any of those days I could just cancel on him or just not show up because I didn't feel like it. I knew that, hey, I'm on his calendar, I'm on his time, so I got to show up every single day and be accountable to him. And he knew my goals and ambitions and knew that this stuff was going to get me closer to where I wanted to go. So he knew what I wanted to get out of it. So showing up every day was going to get me closer to that. So I knew that I had to show up every single day. The second piece of accountability that I had was an investment in terms of money, right? So obviously I paid him, I hired him to work with me, and I put money into it. I made an investment. So I wasn't going to let that go to waste, right? So I had already spent the money up front. So I knew, hey, there was pressure on me to show up. I know that if I didn't show up on a day, A, I'm letting him down and I'm wasting his time because he had it on the calendar, and B, I'm wasting money that I already spent. So those were two key pieces of accountability that kept me coming every single day on time and making sure I was consistent with it. The third piece that we had in place was a time block. So what is a time block? A time block is essentially just what it sounds like, a block of time where you do something. So we had a time pretty much every single day that I would show up around 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock was our time. And I'd pretty much go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we knew 3 days a week for that 2-hour time block, I was going to be at the gym working out with him. And for me, I think the biggest piece of that is just the consistency of it, and knowing that those 3 days a week I was going to be there working out, and knowing that I was going to keep doing that over and over and over for 8 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was. I think too many times when we are changing that time, when we decide to go train, or changing the time in which we go to the gym or whatever, too often, if it's changing too much, we don't get the most out of it, if that makes sense. So we want to make things as efficient as possible. So having a time, a scheduled time on your calendar in which you're going to go do something is going to be a lot more efficient than saying, oh yeah, I just go work out in the afternoons and I do it, a couple times a week. You want to be as specific as possible and schedule it into your calendar. There's a quote I heard somewhere, basically said, what gets scheduled gets done. So if I asked you, hey, what's your time blocks for training this week? And you just say, oh yeah, like I go in the afternoon, a couple days a week. That's not gonna cut it as much as it is, hey, I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 2 to 4 every week without fail. So make sure that you get your training scheduled. Obviously, your training with your team is scheduled, but how can you make sure that the other training that you do, your extra work on your own or with teammates or even gym work, you have scheduled on your calendar so you know that those are going to be reoccurring, consistent times that you're actually going to get it done. And the last piece is environment. So one thing that was really cool about the gym was it was a really nice gym, very spacious, lots of really nice equipment to use, always some good music playing. There were always other people working out, other athletes, professional athletes, some cool adults. And it was really fun to be there every single day, to meet some of these people and to hear their stories and to just conversate with them and just learn from them and just be in that environment every day. I think that when you're in an environment that you enjoy and you like to show up to, you're going to do it more. So for me, I think, how can you put yourself in environments, in specific places that help you feel good and make you want to be there, right? So if you have a group that you train with and you enjoy being with those guys and it's at a training field that is pretty cool and you enjoy the vibes of being there, you're going to want to do it more. So for me, it was really cool to be able to go to a place every single day and work and just like feel good. You could have gave me the same exact plan, the same exact workouts, and if I had to do them at home or at my apartment gym, I don't think I would have got the same value out of it, because I think there was a certain intensity and an effort and just like overall happiness that I gave into the workouts that if I just did it on my own in a place that my apartment gym wasn't as nice as that gym, I genuinely believe I just couldn't get as much out of it. So intentionally try to find ways to put yourself in physical environments, physical places that help you feel good, uplift you, so that you have the right energy to give as much as possible. So I want you to ask yourself, out of those four, right, having a plan specifically from an expert in that field, sense of accountability, time block, and environment, which do you have in place right now? And which can you start to add? So do you have a plan for your training? Do you have your training laid out, your skills training, on-field training, your gym work, conditioning? Do you have it laid out and know exactly what you're gonna do before you even do it? And you're not just making it up on the spot, on the day when you show up, and it's from someone who you trust and has told you, yeah, this is gonna help you get where you wanna go. Do you have that in place? Accountability. Is there someone that you have to answer to, in a sense? Do you have someone that asks you, hey, did you get your training done today? Are you training in a group where these people are, if you're training in a group, you have to show up because the other people are going to be there, or you're just training alone. I'm not saying training alone is a bad thing, but you want to make sure that there's a certain sense of accountability to where if you're training alone, you might not show up because you might not feel that well that day or one of those things, and you want to have some people that you're answering to make sure that you're going to be there. Time block. Are you doing your training consistently at the same times, on the same days throughout the week, and making sure that these things are scheduled into your calendar and we're not just making them up on the day? Again, we're not just showing up and trying to find time in the day. No, we want to get them scheduled into our calendar. And then environment. Do you train in a place that you like? I know sometimes we might not have the luxury to pick where we want to go, but how can you make your environment better? Can you bring music out? Can you find teammates that you enjoy training with and bring them out and train with you, or find a better gym or whatever it is? I think all four of these are key to making progress. And I think also, how can you combine some of these as well, right? I think I touched upon it, but how can you have a time block, but you're accountable with, like I said, with Chris, we had the same time scheduled on both of our calendar. So it was a reoccurring time that kept me consistent and kept me coming in, but it also kept me accountable because I was on his time and I had to make sure I was showing up for him. How can you combine accountability and a plan from an expert? Having, again, Chris, he was the one who gave me my plan, and so he knew if I was doing it or not. I was accountable to the plan that he gave me in order to progress. So I think if you can start to find some ways to mix and match these, I think will be really important. But these four things really help me progress, and I even apply to my training today to make sure I'm getting the absolute most out of it. So at the end of the day, we don't control what's going on around us in terms of outcomes. We don't control whether we win a game or lose a game, have a great game or have a bad game, whether our coach plays us or not. We're not in full control of those things. What we are in control of is the things that we do on a daily basis and how quickly we progress. So I share these four things with you because I want you to level up and progress and develop as quickly as possible. And these four things are going to help you do that. It gives you a better chance to be able to have a good game, get the start, win a game, play really well, do all these things. So I want you to make sure that you're maximizing your training, your controllables, so that you can have a greater influence and have a greater chance of making the most of your opportunities when they come. So I hope you get some value out of this. If you did, like I said, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and just keep rolling. So appreciate you watching, and we'll talk soon.